Okay, to get started, open up a web browser and go ahead and right click and go to inspect and then go over to the console. So this is where we're going to be working to do some basic JavaScript today. So if you've ever used something like Excel, you may have noticed that you could use an asterisk, a star, in order to do multiplication. You could do a forward slash to do division. You can do plus to do addition or minus to do subtraction. So you can do very similar things as well within JavaScript. So let's go ahead and play with some of these main operators. So first I'm just going to put a little comment right here and talk about and just state the operators that we're going to use. Plus, minus, multiplication, division, and then this other one called the modulus or the remainder operator, and then 2 stars, which is for exponents. Okay, so that was just a comment. Let's go ahead and start working with some numbers. So if I declare a number, let I num equal to 10 and let I num2 equal to 20. If I want to add those things up, I can do console.log and I can say I num plus I num2 and it comes out and it's 30. All right, let's go ahead and subtract those. Console.log and let's go I num2 minus I num, and we print it out and we get 10 predictably. All right, let's go ahead and do console.log I num2 times I num, and we get 200. So far this is working predictably. Let's do the division. I'm going to press up once on my keyboard so I don't have to type quite as much, and do a division operator here. And it comes out as 2. 20 divided by 10 is 2. Okay, looking great. And I'm going to do some of this math now without using variables because at least within the console I can just type things in directly. So let's go 2 to the power of 3 and it returns an 8. Or just like we were doing before, 20 divided by 10 and that comes out as 2. So we've covered a lot of these things. One of the ones that you might not have seen, as at least within this programming language, is the modulus operator right here. So whereas usually when we go 20 divided by 10, we're concerned with how many times this number goes into that number, but we can also use a different operator which gives us the remainder. So if I do 20 divided by 10, it's going to go in there twice, and then the remainder is nothing. But if I do 20 divided by, and let's go in there 9, so it would be 2, it would go in there 2 times, remainder 2, or 20 modulus 8, so you could go in there 8 goes in there 2 times, that would be 16, but then you'd have a remainder of 4. So this is kind of a strange thing. Why would you even want this? Well, one of the common ways that we use this is oftentimes when we're returning a set of information from someplace like a database, we don't know whether exactly how many things there are, but we do know that when we print something out, we want to have basically different colored rows in a table. And so oftentimes for styling purposes, we will do evens will be a light colored background for a row and odds will be a darker background color. And so what we do is whatever that number is, let's just say it's the number 32 or maybe just 33 mod 2, and let's just kind of keep on counting up. 34 mod 2, 35 mod 2. So what you can see is as we count up and keep on doing this modulus operator and a 2, we're basically able to determine if it's an odd or an even number. And using logic, we could do light colored or dark colored rows when we're printing out lots of pieces of information. Okay, Let's kind of move on from talking about those basic operators and talk about rounding in JavaScript. So something that happens a lot is we want to take some number and round it. Let's write a statement that relates to GPAs right now. So console.log, and I'll say your GPA, and I'll say math.round, and I'll do 3.76. And so I've got my outer parentheses here, and then I've got one string. I concatenate something else. This is collectively, this is a method or a function which takes part of the math library that takes in 3.76, and let's just see what happens. Your GPA is 4. Well, that sure is a nice healthy set of rounding, isn't it? Let's see what happens if we try another number. What if we do 3.51? Ooh, still 4. Ooh, we like this rounding. What if we do just 3.5? 4. What if we do 3.49? 3. Well, we can see that in some cases this rounding function is very generous, and in other cases it takes quite a bit away. So clearly what it does is it just looks at the first digit after the decimal point and goes up or down from there. There's another one that we could use, which is called toFixed, and it works a little bit differently. Rather than a standalone function all by itself, first what you do is you declare a variable, and then on that variable you can do a dot and then this little method that says toFixed. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that. I'll say let f, a float because it is a decimal, GPA equals 3.76, and then I'll just have it go right out to the screen here. F GPA dot toFixed, and then we can just specify the number of decimals that we want this rounded to. So if I say 1, it goes to 3.8. If I say 2, it's that. And then I would need a lot more decimal points to do other interesting things. But rather than like the round function where it just arbitrarily drops it off right there every single time, you can round it at any digit of precision that you might be caring about. Okay, let's do a little bit more with the other round function for a second. Let's start off with let I num1 equal 3.49, if we can type correctly. And then let's go ahead and multiply this. So I'll say I num1 equals I num1 times 10. Now I know in a previous video on variables we demonstrated some of these basics, but this is a good chance to review. Ooh, that looks very strange though, doesn't it? You would have thought that we would have just got 34.9, but instead we got some weird number. Let's just go ahead and verify that that's the case. Console.log I num1. Oops. It says undefined. Let's try that one more time. Console.log I num1. There we go. Okay, so it did do it right. I was just getting distracted by the undefined there. Okay, so this is very strange. We multiplied it by 10, and it has this long number there. So just so you know, there can be weird things that happen at high levels of precision, and in this case, it did something weird, which makes us a little bit uncomfortable. The good news, though, is that we can still round this, and that small number out there is relatively inconsequential. So let's go ahead and just kind of watch what happens. I'm going to reassign this. I num1 equals I'll do the round function math.round and then I num1. Okay, and it already print out what it's going to do. I'll just console.log real quick and see that it is holding 35. So I started off with a particular number, I updated that number, and then I updated it again by rounding it. So one of the things I wanted to demonstrate here is that repeatedly I'm able to continue to reassign a variable that has been created. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about updating variables. And so I'll say let, and let's do some donut sales here. I Monday sales equals 1,000. All right, so let's imagine for a moment that we incorrectly captured the number of donuts that we had sold on Monday and we need to increase this amount. Well, one of the ways that we can fix this is just using that same variable name again, equal to itself plus, and let's just say that we forgot to add 2. So that's one way we could do it, and the browser console is letting us know right now that that variable now holds 1,002. And that's what I'd get if I did a console.log right now. There is another way that I could have done this. Let me go ahead and set Monday sales back equal to 1,000 again. And because this type of assignment of something, having itself plus some additional number is so common in programming, there's a little shortcut that we can use, and that's plus equal. So I can do iMonday sales plus equal to 2. So this is exactly the same as this syntax right here. It's just saying take itself, add it to itself plus 2. And so it's in fact equal to 1,002 now. Console.log and then iMonday sales. And we're able to verify that. We can do similar things with multiplication and subtraction and division. Let's go ahead and subtract some number here. I'm going to click up a couple of times, and I'll say iMonday sales equals iMonday sales minus, and I'll just come up with some number 25. Okay, and so now we're down to 977. Or we could do something with multiplication. iMonday sales, which is currently 977, equals iMonday sales times 3. And it comes out to a relatively large number. So we're able to see, again, that there's some pretty handy shortcuts that we can use to reduce the amount of typing. But it looks a little cryptic the first time you see it. All right, let's go ahead and stop there. And in the next video, I'll do some comparisons.